on the right-hand side, introduce yourself, your name, if you want, your company, your LinkedIn profile, what city you're from, and all that good stuff. But put in your LinkedIn profile so you can kind of connect with each other afterwards as well. And any other interesting facts or questions you might have later on for Robin would be helpful as well. So the focus on today's Let's Talk is on how I built my company with our special guest, Robin Wilson. I think you guys are in for a treat today because, sorry for that. You're in for a treat today. I saw Robin, we were on mute.
So, you know, not surprised by these results. Historically, as a function,
I gotta mute everyone. Okay, sorry. Technological. When you're doing a live stream and also people in the room, it's a logistical issues. Hi, Claudine, how are you doing? So this is gonna be an amazing event. I met Robin when we were being interviewed on the same show. I think it's David Meltzer, Lunch Hour. But Robin spoke after me and I was so riveted. I was like, I need to meet her. She's amazing. So I'm going to introduce her at the end. But for those who are new to Community of Seven, there's one singular purpose of these Let's Talk calls. And it's really to create an environment where participants can really support each other during this global crisis and beyond. And more than ever, we really need to come together as a community to support each other and uplift each other. So about Let's Talk, there's no presentations, slide decks. This is really an open discussion where the group supports each other wholeheartedly. And if you can, please turn on your video if you can. And if you don't, that's fine as well, but we really want you a part of this conversation. So if you can, turn on your videos. For folks who are kind of watching this on live stream on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook, hello. And I'll be monitoring the chats. So please introduce yourself if you are on live stream on YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Let us introduce yourself, your name, you know, what city you're from, and anything else that would be interesting because we want to get to know you as well. So quick exercise for this next activity, for those who are regulars, you already know what we do. Top right-hand side, put yourself on gallery mode so you can kind of see everyone and turn on your videos for this part if you can. We should look like the Brady Bunch grid so you can see everyone. You know, and as for those that are new to Let's Talk, we always start our calls with a series of questions. Okay, ready? So you're going to raise both hands if it's a yes. If you're on live stream on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, you can kind of raise your hand with the emoticon, or you can just say yes, right? Because I want you to be interacting with us as well, the folks who are kind of in the quote unquote Zoom audience. So say yes, or in the comments say yes. How many of you on this call are currently entrepreneurs, business owners, or founders? Okay. And how many of you aren't currently business owners, but would like to start your own business sometime in the future? Okay. For those who have started businesses, or those who haven't yet started their business, how many, you know, for those who already started their business, think about before you started your business, right? How many of you have been kind of paralyzed to start a business and it's been because of fear of financial loss, fear of not having work-life balance, just not knowing where to start, not sure what your business idea is? Okay. So top right-hand side right now, I want you to put it into speaker view so you just see me. Hello. It's really interesting kind of seeing all of the hands, and I'm excited to see kind of like a good mixture of people who have started businesses and other people who are just kind of waiting to figure out what their dream business will be, right? But what's always helped me, I've been a serial entrepreneur. I started my first business when I was in my 20s, and I've probably started 4 or 5 businesses. And Community of Seven, I always say, is kind of like my last one and the one that I kind of will take with me. This is all bets out. But I spent a long time trying to figure out, because I spent 20 years. I started off as an entrepreneur, then I went into the corporate world, knew that I wanted to eventually start my own business, but wasn't sure what it would be. And for many of you that have kind of followed Community of Seven, I kind of figured it out last year when I got laid off from Fortune magazine. And one of the things I really focused on is, what is my core values? What's important to me? And once I really figured out what my core values were, I was able to kind of really give birth to Community of Seven. I really wanted to help people. I really wanted to create a community where people could come together to change the world. And then I didn't know what the product would look like, but I started the business and I said, I will ideate and kind of figure it out. And so, we started off with kind of this individual membership, core communities. Then we started with supporter membership. And now I'm doing a lot of corporate training. But it's funny because a lot of people say, well, it seems like Community of Seven is an overnight success. And what I always tell people is, you didn't see the 40 years of me starting many businesses, failing, going into the corporate world, doing 10 different career pivots in my life to kind of get me to this point. And so that's the message that I want to get to the folks who are kind of in the room or on live stream, is that idea is there. You just need to figure it out. And one of the things that I love doing as an entrepreneur is seeing other successful entrepreneurs. That's why I'm so excited to introduce you to Robin Wilson, because she is an inspiration. Before I introduce her, though, I'm going to go over a few interesting stats with you. 90% of new American billionaires are self-made. Despite the economic hardship that we have all been through with COVID-19, some people have enjoyed unprecedented wealth surge, with a record high 493 new billionaires added to the Forbes annual list of the richest people in 2021. In 2016, there were 25 million Americans who were starting or already running their own business. There are 15 million Americans who are full-time self-employed. And according to a separate study from Intuit QuickBooks, 28% of American workers had some form of self-employment or side hustle in 2019. And 1 out of every 5 workers plans a complete change career once they get into entrepreneurship. And another interesting stat, the number one reason why businesses fail is there's no market need. And 46% of small businesses, entrepreneurs, are between the ages of 41 and 56. There are 582 million entrepreneurs in the world, and we have a lot of folks who are on this call today who are, outside of the US as well, from Asia, Europe, etc. 20% of small businesses fail within their first year, and about 50% fail within their 5th year. So quick activity before I introduce Robin. In the chats right now, don't press, type this in the chats, but don't press send yet until I tell you. In the chats, I want you to kind of write down, what's the number one thing that's holding you back from starting your own business? And if you've already started your own business, type in, what was that one thing that kind of held you back from starting it? Like the doubt, what was the one thing that was, that is preventing you from starting your own business? So for example, I'll give you mine, and it was basically, I just didn't have the right idea yet. And so it took me a while to figure it out. So type it in, and and for folks who are on live stream, type it in as well. And we're gonna all at the same time press send. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, money, uncertainty, family responsibilities, time, lack of financial loss, not understanding new technology, money, fear of the unknown, information, and funding. Robin, I think you could probably nod your head in terms of like some of those fears, because I know as an entrepreneur, I probably had all of those, especially the financial one, right? Like you have a family. How do you pay the mortgage? How do you pay your bills? And I was in corporate for so long because I wanted security. And one of the things I realized when I got laid off at Fortune is there's no security in corporate America as well. And many of us have gotten laid off this past year, right? And so my decision was, I am going to make a successful business regardless, and I'm never going to ever depend on anyone else, in terms of my financial success. And I think that was kind of like my big, jump into the pool. And I think one of the quotes that I recently heard was, jump and the net will appear. And I think that's kind of the life of an entrepreneur, right? You kind of have to jump and you believe that it's going to succeed. So I am so excited to introduce today's guest, Robin Wilson. She is a titan in clean design. She not only built a lifestyle brand, she's an author, a designer, and a developer. She's made her mark specializing in creating eco-healthy environments. She spent the last 2 decades breaking down barriers and overcoming hurdles to achieve success, despite systemic racism that excluded her from obtaining traditional financing. She was one of the first pioneers of the eco-friendly design movement. In 2009, Robin's custom cabinetry line, which is made in the USA, was picked up to be sold at 400 dealers nationwide. She generated $82 million wholesale, of which she got a licensing percentage. She's the first woman to have custom cabinetry sold at 400 dealers nationwide. She's the second Black woman, after legendary B. Smith, to have a textile line at Bed Bath & Beyond. She is the founder of Robin Wilson Home in New York City. You've probably seen her on NBC Today Show. She's been featured in the Oprah magazine. So I am so excited, Robin. You were one of the first eco-friendly designers to really make a name for yourself. And you built Robin Wilson Homes after your departure from corporate America. And we have a lot of folks who are on this call, either live stream or in the Zoom room, who are kind of in corporate world, who might want to start their business in the future. Can you talk more about your journey and what made you take the leap from the corporate world to starting your own company?
Well, first of all, thank you everyone for joining this call today. And it's so rare to see so many beautiful faces on a Zoom when we're all trying to get away from Zoom. So many people don't log in. So I'm glad to see your faces. Thank you. I also want to shout out to a couple of people. Joan Wallace Benjamin knew me when I was 21 years old, just starting off in my career, and she is on this call. Kiana knew me, Kiana Agbai, who's in my corner right over here. She knew me when I was just starting my venture in New York. So it would be very interesting to have their take on my success trajectory. But let me throw out to all of you, there is no linear direction for entrepreneurship. If I could have predicted what my career trajectory is, I would have laughed. I would have said, yeah, right, I'm gonna be a brand. That was not part of the goal. It was just to make money because I have a joy of real estate and design. So let me go back to, I'm from a working class family. My dad was a bus driver. My mom worked for the state. Their entire emphasis was education, but also being a thinker. And that means sometimes saying and expressing yourself in a way that allows you to have freedom. A lot of people, as we know, that sort of, you're told to fit in. And as a brown person in Texas, in a school of 364 students, of which 8 were African-American, there was no way to fit in. I just had to be me. So I want to say that to everyone, be you. That's, what is your passion? If your passion is to, wear, black and white all the time, do it. Look at Janelle Monáe, right? You've got to be you, and it will lead you to your goal. So fast forward, I moved, after graduating from the University of Texas, I moved to Boston, the most cold environment I'd ever been in. And I'm talking about Moving in December, not a good idea when you're from Texas and you think your winter coat is a winter coat. And a lot of ladies up there took care of me and were like, you're going to freeze to death. You need a real winter coat. Fast forward. I have a career trajectory that went from working at Mercer Management Consulting to then an executive search firm to a very small one to also working for the Boston Olympic Committee bid, being a member of a wonderful organization in Boston called the Partnership, which introduced me to a lot of leaders in the community, and then being transferred by the executive search firm to New York. And this happened to be Heidrick and Struggles, which hires all of the Fortune 500 CEOs and board members and things of that nature. And one day, someone came to my desk and said, I need you to sign these papers. And we're doing an IPO. Now, I didn't know what an IPO was, so I let the papers just sit on my desk. A week went by, 2 weeks went by. And finally, my boss came in and said, I'm going to stand here until you sign the papers. I was like, what is an IPO? Again, working class family, not understanding what was about to happen to me. So it would be like Monday. IPO, by the way, stands for initial public offering, if you don't know. So that means this company was going to go public. And that means you get shares in that company that's about to go public. But I didn't know what that was. And so Monday, you have $5 in your bank account, and Tuesday, you have a lot of zeros behind that $5. I don't know what to do. And I went to one of the people that I had hired. His name was John Lipsky, and he was a professor, and I hired him into JP Morgan Chase to be their chief economist. So imagine this man working as a professor, making whatever professors make, and then the next day he's the chief economist of JP Morgan Chase, making a lot of money. So whenever I called, he was like, I'll take your call, kid. And so I said, I don't know what to do. I have all this money in my bank account. I could buy a Ferrari or I could buy a house in the Hamptons. He's like, no, quit your job if you don't love it and chase your passion. You have the freedom for once in your life. It's like catching lightning. And he said, what do you love? What do you do? If you could just do anything and have a decent living and eat, what would you do? I was like, I would do real estate. I love real estate. I read the Sunday paper. I just dated myself. I read the Sunday newspaper and I look at the real estate section. And he said, get a real estate degree. I said, oh, they'd have such a thing? He said, yes. And called, he said, do you like NYU or Columbia? I was like, he said, NYU is more hands-on. Columbia is more theoretical with their real estate finance program. Now, this should share with you also connections. You might leave corporate America, but you might need to not burn that Rolodex. There might be people you need to reach back to. So he called NYU. I had already done my GREs. I'd done well, and I got into the program. When I graduated, however, with my master's in real estate finance, you know what I was told by my 80-year-old professor, who, by the way, I say 80 because we're still friends and he's a mentor. He said, Robin, you're not a man. You're not a white male. You will not get funded to the same level. And so you need to find a way to make money in the real estate development world. And I was like, huh? I've got this degree and I was top of my class. And he said, I'm telling you, you're not going to get the funding. So you can try to get a lot of jobs, but they'll put you in the marketing group or the sales group. And if you really want to make money, you need to be a developer. So he said, I suggest you work with developers. So what did I do? I wanted to rebel against his advice. But sometimes you get good advice and you got to listen. And you don't need to get mad. You need to figure out, and it's like in the, I believe it was the Joy Luck Club or Memoirs of a Geisha, they talk about you can be water and you can figure out your way. And so I figured out my way was to use my Southern skills, which is being nice, to use my master's in real estate finance, to use my design love, and to tell people that I was the busy homeowner's best friend, which means I'm a project manager, right? So guess what? All that Rolodex of the Fortune 500 CEOs, I know their phone numbers. I know them. And guess what? They have a house in Aspen. They have a house in the Hamptons. They have a house in the Bahamas. They have a house in wherever. And guess what happened? My business being their best friend, because they don't want the guy general contractor to be their wife's best friend. They want me to be the best friend and to talk to the general contractor. So my business went from 0 to $1.2 million in about 14 months. And what did I do? I ran errands. I made sure that when the cable guy got there, there was a college student waiting to let them in. I made sure their projects got done on time and on budget. And that meant in the summer, I was in Aspen. In the winter, I was in the Hamptons. And we would have about 12 projects going on at one time, and we got 15% of the construction budget. How many of you could do that right now? You're a mom. What do you need to do? You need to make sure you're home by 3 o'clock to pick up your kid. Could you be a project manager and get 15% of the construction budget and just make sure that the delivery gets there on time? You can, and it can be in your market. So that's something I did. And I sort of invented that and now you see it on TV, right? I also started doing TV. So HGTV Selling New York, they picked it up. And so I did, whatever. I did some design work, but I'm not a trained designer. I've just traveled a lot. I know a lot of people, and I'm always nice. I might not talk to you for a long time, but I'm always nice. There's some people you charcoal the bridge, but just try to be nice most of the time. Now, fast forward. By 2005, this is now 5 years into my business, so from 2000 to 2005, my business has done very well. But I get a phone call from O Magazine, but I thought it was someone pranking me. I didn't return the phone call the first time or the second time. And the third time they called, guy's name is Adam Glassman, and he's our creative director. And he said, this isn't a prank, but if you don't return the call, we're going to go to the next person on the list. Please give us a call. Hi, right? And so return the phone calls. That's something you may not realize, but you might get the break of your life. And that happened to be, I would say, one of the breaks of my life. I took that phone call, and guess what? He said, tell me your life story, sort of like what I'm doing right now. He's like, your business is huge. We know people who've had their projects done by you and your team. And, my team was me and the driver who every Friday would drive me around New York City in his car to make sure that, I could go project to project and check everything off. So he said, I just hired a couple of people. He said, so tell us, why do you have your company named WSG Consulting? You know what I said? And this is what every entrepreneur in this call needs to hear. I said, honestly, well, if I fail, then no one will know it's me. 5 years into success, and I was still afraid of failing. That's something you need to understand. It never goes away. But you know what Oprah's people say? Well, if you don't change the name and put your name in it, we're not going to run the story. And I was like, no, that's a getting to yes moment. You can say no, but I have my business cards and make a lot of excuses. Yeah. Or you can say, yes, I'll call you tomorrow with my new company name. And that's exactly what I did.
Interesting. Why did they want you to change the name to Robin Wilson?
Because WSG Consulting was my fear, right? And you cannot grow with fear. You have to grow with belief in yourself. Even if you fail, you learned a lesson, and you have to make sure that you're committed to you. And they said, we like your name. Put your name in it. Now, this is back in the day when you could go to GoDaddy.com and type your name in and your name might be available. So Robin Wilson Home popped up. That's how I got my company name.
Wow, I love that. So kind of let's unpack this imposter syndrome. Because I feel like it's interesting as well, because it's different as a person of color. Because like when I think of imposter syndrome, I've been in the corporate world. I was in corporate world for 20 years. And I talked to a lot of my friends who are also kind of on that same path. I never had a confidence issue. It was basically my bosses or the companies that wouldn't bet on myself. So this whole notion of imposter syndrome, when they first created it, they were really basing it on white women. And when I talked to a lot of like my girlfriends who are women of color. They're like, I believe in myself. I just need other people to bet on myself. Like, was
That's
that
exactly that's exactly right. You know, I'm going to fast forward to say, this is the power moment. Everyone who is an entrepreneur will reach a point where they need other people to fund them. It doesn't, you know, if you want to go to the next level, you can't, unless you have a family fortune, you're going to need someone to fund you. But let me tell you this. After the Oprah article ran, I was on CBS, I did the doctors, all these shows, right? PBS named me one of the, I guess it was the people up and coming. I don't remember the name of the show, but it was PBS Nightly Business Report. And so we're making the cover of magazines. We're doing House Beautiful. I did the Kennedys. I wrote a book. It's #1 best-selling. We're generating revenue. To this day, I have never, ever, no matter how many pitches I've done, received funding from anyone except friends and family. And because Bloomberg just ran an article a couple of weeks ago, Bank of America, my longtime bank, said, oh, we'll give you $7,000 line of credit. I'm like, okay, I won't spend it everywhere. So I want you to have that perspective as a Black woman. Now, I won't say the name of the venture fund. It was a seed capital fund for women. I went to the presentation, did my 15 pitch books. I walk in the room and I'm pitching Robin Wilson Home, which at that time we had just gotten the 400 kitchen dealers. We generated, as you know, over 8 years, $82 million wholesale. When you translate that to retail, wholesale, as you know, there's a 4x multiple. So we're a $2 billion revenue generator. My licensing is about 8% of that, by the way. So I didn't get all of that. But then we also did the textile deal. And the textiles were sold at Bed Bath & Beyond, Kohl's, Home Goods, etc. That generated a significant sum of money. I went to this one pitch and I said to this woman, or to this group, you know, I'm like the Black Martha Stewart, because, you know, I'm the young B. Smith. And this woman literally said, I don't know anybody, any brands that look like you. Why would anybody buy your stuff? Now, I don't know how you unpack that, because I can't unzip myself and become a different color. And I guess someone kicked her under the table because she jumped. She goes, I don't mean that to be racist or anything, but well, why isn't your community investing in you? Why don't you go to that like rap star? And I was like, I literally picked up my book. I said, obviously this isn't the right fit. And I walked out. Now, that's a moment you charcoal, right? Now, a woman came running out after me, and I won't say her name because we're still very good friends. And she said, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I'm willing to give you some advice and counsel, but she never wrote a check. Meanwhile, we're generating money, generating money. IMG signs me. I'm being, you know, courted. I spoke to the Aspen Institute 3 times, which is unheard of. And like Kevin Costner's in the room and Jane Goodall's in the room, but I'm not good enough to get funded. Yet WeWork guy, who I will just say point blank, I met him once. He was marketing a high-heeled shoe that had a retractable high heel. The first time you don't put it together, you twist your ankle. Like failure. 30. How much did WeWork get? $30 billion. I use that as an example of there's no imposter syndrome. I know who I am. And all these ladies on this call today know who they are. The issue is, does someone else believe in you enough to fund you to your next level?
Yeah. So Robin, rewind a little bit, because you made a pivot. So you started off as a quote unquote project manager,
right?
For, you know, these, you know, wealthy CEOs. How did you go there and pivot to now having your own line, your textile line, furniture? Because that's the big leap. Like,
yes,
you know.
Well, to everyone, let me tell you about licensing and really what it is, because there's private label, there's licensing, and then there's just being a brand. Okay, so if you're just a brand, you're you and you're doing what you're doing. And I say a brand is what people say about you when you walk out of the room. Okay. So it's also a platform. So if you are the eco-friendly girl or guy, then that is who you are and that is your brand. However, when that platform expands so that you're speaking, you're getting paid to show up at events or you're on television, that's your platform. When you have a platform, someone will pay to have access to that group of people or those followers or that audience. When you have a platform, you can get licensing, or you can do private label, which is you don't sell your name or lease your name. You will be able to go somewhere and say, hey, I can sell these candles. I'd like to put my name on it. But when you do private label, you're responsible for the sales, the marketing, the distribution, everything. When you license your brand, however, they have their sales teams. So right now, my brand has about 60 people at one company working for them for my brand. I don't employ them. They pay their salaries and they do various designs. I say, here's my concept for the season. They do those designs. They have sales teams, marketing, and distribution, which is why you get such a small percentage. When you do private label, however, you control all of that, but you have to get it on the shelf. You have to make sure it's shipped from China or Asia or wherever it's being made. So that's the difference. So how do you pivot to that? Oprah writes an article about you. You get on TV.
That's all.
Right? And Oprah wrote,
all over right now.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have Oprah as their business plan. And I'm going to tell you, you can't do that. You must recognize that you must build your brand first, your platform second, and then decide, are you going to go private label or licensing?
I love that. Can I pause you for a second? Just because
yes, absolutely.
I've had so many conversations with young women and also men about building your own personal brand. Because I've been, I was in marketing for 20 years prior to starting my own company. And I was one of those people who didn't post, who didn't put myself out there, who didn't work on my personal brand. One, because I'm an introvert. Two, I just never felt comfortable doing it until this year. When I started my business, I was like, I don't have any advertising budget. So I need to post on LinkedIn, on Facebook, whatever it is. I have to, get on any podcast or media that I can, because that's free advertising. So
yes.
That really got me out of my shell. Yes. But what I always tell like young executives, because I'm always on like mentoring calls and such, is that you need, while you might be really good at promoting your company's brand or a client, you need to focus on your personal brand, because your personal brand is the only one that stays with you for the rest of your career, the rest of your life.
Right. So I'll give you an example. I mentor a few people. I don't just do the hi, let me take your phone call. Like, I go deep with people when I say I'll be your mentor. But one of the things I say to people is, you can have an opinion about something. Make sure you're willing to live with that opinion if you put it on social media. Remember this, that opinion could influence your future deal. Okay. Now that doesn't mean you don't have the opinion. It means choose the audience with which you're going to share that opinion. I'll give you an example. One of my friends loves to wear furs. Okay. I don't know why, but that's her thing. She has a collection of furs. There's a whole group of people who support PETA, and they would never buy anything from her brand if she was wearing fur. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And so that's a non-controversial way to say it. Be careful with what you have on social media. Be careful, because that is your brand. That does not mean your friends and family and inner circle can't know what you think. And it doesn't mean you don't stand for something, but make sure you're comfortable with that forever, because it doesn't go away. That's, there are people who write like, okay, I'll just say it. There's a certain personality married to a musician who we all may know, who made some really nasty comments about a young woman when she was 16 years old. And now her cookware line has been pulled from Macy's, and she got pulled off her Netflix show. You can't be mean and bully people and expect that it doesn't come back. Let's go there. All right. So that's one. But let me go back to the story because I want everyone to understand how we transitioned. That was your earlier question. I think I went off on a tangent. The article got written and I got a phone call. Again, another, I'll call it a financial literacy moment. Remember this, I'm giving you clues. My working class family, IPO was not part of our vernacular, nor was licensing part of our vernacular. So who are you going to call? Your mom and dad? Hi, mom and dad, I got a phone call about licensing my name. They look at you and they say, what does that mean? You can't, you're a Wilson. What, you can't, right? So you have no one to go to. So you go to Google, licensing. Oh, that's what Ralph Lauren does. That's what Calvin Klein does. I'm making you all chuckle, I hope. Oh, okay, Martha Stewart licenses stuff. Okay, call people back. Hey, I'm interested. They're like, we're gonna fly into New York, or we can fly you out. I'm like, oh, this is a big deal. Okay, okay, so they flew into New York. I sit there and I'm like, hi. And they're like, well, we'd like to offer you a number, 5-figure thousands, to lease your name per year for 8 years. And you're going to get X percentage of all the sales. And we've got the salespeople. You don't have to worry about that. You just have to tell us what colors you like or what style you like. And I'm like, okay. And then they leave. And they leave you with a contract to give to your lawyers. Your lawyers are like, do you know what this really means? I'm like, not really, but they seem really nice. Let's go there. That is reality when you're an entrepreneur. A moment may come into your world and you have to just say yes or go to your lawyer who will explain everything to you. So here's the word of the day, as they say in Sesame Street. You must have your ABCs or you will go to your 1, 2, 3s. You must have a great attorney. You must have a great bookkeeper, and you must have cash flow, or you will have $1.23 in your bank account. That's it. That's the simple way to be an entrepreneur. Now, mind you, how do I know that? Because one time I did go to $1.23 in my bank account and have to walk 20 blocks home. You must have your ABCs in order. The attorney will protect you with your contracts. Your bookkeeper will make sure you pay the taxes, and your cash flow will keep you in business and make sure you can pay people. That might be the title of my next book, so nobody steal that, okay? So anyway, the fast forward, I signed the licensing deal. All of a sudden, money starts getting wired into my account every month, right? And then I get the textile deal. But what you have to remember is, again, it goes back to personal brand. What if I'd written something hugely controversial? They have moral clauses in the contracts. You'd lose your deal, right? So you have to be careful. And what's your job when you get a licensing deal? It is to market and to sell the product, which means you become the walking ambassador for that brand. You're talking about it all the time, anytime you're on the air, anytime you're with your friends. But let me tell you this, I would speak at events as a leader in the eco-friendly movement, and I would show up and I would send emails out to all sorts of people. And often there would only be 3, maybe 4 people of color in the audience. I felt ignored. Not only that, people would talk about, well, we can't find an eco-friendly person, right? And I'm like, hello. So when Vanity Fair did their green issue in 2008, there were no people of color on the cover, but there was me. Those are moments when you feel like an imposter because no one is supporting you. That is what you need to know also as an entrepreneur. If you are a woman and you know that another woman is building her business, you must be their ambassador, because we don't have the money to advertise. We have our mouths, we have our friends, we have, and if you find a candle that you like, tell somebody, oh, it's a woman entrepreneur. And because those 5 sales might keep her lights on that week, right? So I want to share that. The imposter syndrome sometimes comes because others aren't betting on you publicly and or privately. And you're doing all the advertising. And I remember an old friend joking, but there's truth in jest. She's like, Robin, I always see you on TV. You must like seeing yourself. And I was like, no, I'm trying to build my brand. Just like Ralph Lauren, when you open the New York Times and he's on page 1, or just like when you see Martha's show or a magazine. So every one of us have to remember, please bet on others in your community, because if that one person goes to the moon, they can pull others along, because we can see around the corner. We've been around that bend, and we can be like, oh, don't do that, or don't sign that deal. This is why, or make sure you add that paragraph. It's really important to have people who have walked in those shoes a little bit ahead of you.
I love that. And you've actually you walk the walk, because you actually hire, you hire people from diverse backgrounds, but you also work with other vendors and folks who are of color, and you support the community. So you're actually doing it.
Let me tell you, one of the things you have to remember is textiles are sewn by typically women, right? When you have the maker quilt, or when you, so I've actually made my licensing partners sign clauses that they will not allow child labor. I think that was really important. The second is that they would make sure that, especially in a factory, that they would have health care for their workers, or child care, or some form of leave for maternity leave, because you have power. I hate to say it, you have power at that moment, right? Because if you're generating a lot of money, they're like, okay. And the fast forward is, let me tell you, after 20 years, last year, I was ready to quit. Now, this is something you don't ever hear about from a successful person, but I was ready to quit. My licensing deal for kitchens was done. My licensing deal for textiles is over in 2022. And I had exited a marriage in 2014, domestic violence, right? How many women don't talk about that? And the hardship, and the why, and the X in the road, when it's really hard and you're very alone. And you don't have the money because you're spending it all on your lawyers, $1 million on lawyers, right? Just to get away from the person who hurt you, right? So guess what? I kept going, but at a smaller level. And I was like ready to quit. I was like, I need a corporate job because I need security. I need the retirement fund. We're done. And Black Lives Matter happened. And all of a sudden, my company made a list of the top 10 companies to support. My business overnight went last June, up 3,000% overnight. Okay, I got a call last July from a hotel group, and they said in 50 years, we have never hired a Black vendor. And I said, what? And they said, is there any way that you can provide us textiles for our beds and our towels and our sheets? And I said, sure. Their first order, we're on order number 6 right now. Their first order was a semi-trailer truck and a half. It was over $50,000 in one afternoon, right? The next order was 30-something thousand. That should give you the moment of, whoa. Okay, but let me take you back. When I was doing just design work, when I was still back before the licensing deal, I remember meeting a couple, and they had sweaty clothes on. They'd ridden their bikes to a speech that I had done. And they're like, we'd like to hire you to be our designer. And a lot of people judge a book by the cover. Do you realize I was like, okay, y'all are sweaty and helmets and whatever. They owned a penthouse down in Tribeca. All they had was a guitar, an air mattress, and maybe a towel or two. And their last name was the name of an investment bank, right? But I didn't know that at the time. And I could have judged that book by the cover and been like, yeah, you can't afford me. Okay, that's why I say be nice. They didn't have a budget. It was whatever we wanted. So I remember walking into one store and they're like, we want this, 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 and this. And the bill in like 10 minutes was $65,000. Don't judge your books by the cover. Number one, don't let other people judge you. And number 3, remember that you and your vision are more important than their opinion of you.
Love that. I'm going to open it to questions pretty soon, but there's one question I am dying personally to ask you because I think we have similar backgrounds. I grew up working class parents. My mother was a hairdresser. She supported our family of 5 on her income. And so I want to talk about limiting beliefs. And, my family were Vietnamese refugees. We didn't have much money growing up. And so even when I got to Stanford, I got to Harvard, and even when I got my job, I never felt like I deserved it, like financially, like kind of like I didn't deserve wealth. I didn't deserve abundance. And so one of the things that really struck me was when you were starting your project management company, you had these Rolodex of these CEOs and you called them up as if you deserved it. Do you know what I mean? Like, because there's so many women entrepreneurs.
I didn't know any better. That's the reality. I didn't know any better to be intimidated. I just needed work.
But what I get a lot from other entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs, is that fear to ask. And one of the things I always tell people is if you don't ask, your answer is no. So ask, because the worst thing that can happen is you get a no. But like, how did you kind of like, so I guess for you, it was just kind of fearlessness. You just didn't know any better. But like, how do the folks who are kind of on this call get past that limiting belief to just say, I deserve this amount of money or this amount of success or whatnot? How do you get?
Well, there's 2 books I'd like to recommend right now. And one is called The Dream Giver. It is amazing. Bruce Wilkinson is the author. It's a spiritual book because some people are not religious. So it's more about spirit, but it is based on the Bible. So I'm just going to disclose that. And it's about, well, you have to read it. And the first half, by the way, might be a little slow. Just plow through it. The second half, you're just going to be like, oh my gosh. Okay. There's another book. It's called The 3 Steps. And a dear friend of mine suggested it. I want to say the guy's last name is Trevor. Bear with me. I could ask my daughter right now to run and get it, but it is an amazing book about self-fortitude and belief in yourself. So I'll say that the only person who can get you to believe in you is you. That's it. There's no, the one thing I would tell somebody is there's no other you in this world. And you have a gift that you were put on this earth to give. And you may not understand what that is. Your gift could be smiling at someone who's about to jump off a bridge. That could be the reason why you're here. And maybe your smile is going to change someone's life. Your gift could be having an amazing career. But then you got to give back too. I didn't get here by myself. Women like Joan, I'm going to call out Joan Wallace Benjamin again, because I see Nina Bowman on the line. These are people that I met. Nina's my peer, but Joan ran or runs, I'm not sure, a huge not-for-profit. And I'm like this 21-year-old girl from Austin, Texas, seeing this amazing woman speak in front of huge audiences. And she knows me and I know her. And she would like say, hi, Robin, like I was a people, right? And I say that because when you are young and someone acknowledges you as a person, not just, hi, a handshake, give me your business card. And that's what we need right now with this Zoom moment. We're all distant. If someone just says, you mean something to me, and even if it's 5 minutes and you just take the time to talk, I call it the rubber chicken syndrome. Remember with the rubber chicken dinners where you would go and let me get 50 business cards by the end of the night. And then what? Did you return any of those calls? Did you call anybody? But if you said, I'm going to meet 3 people tonight and I'm going to spend 3 minutes with each of them so I can know something about them. That's what Zoom can do. It's meaningful. And Joan, you just have to know, in Boston, of all places, a very tribal city, for you to stand up and be a leader in that community, to me, was like a hero. It was like Coretta Scott King for me. And to me, I had the courage to work at a Heidrick and Struggles, the first Black employee in the New York office that wasn't a secretary, okay? I had the courage to go in there and look at these resumes and say, nope, not him. But at the same time, always sneak in a person of color in that book, always. That's how I gave back. Because then these names started floating up. They'd be like, I've seen that person's resume before. That's what you have to do.
I love that. Macy, do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question? I think you have a really good one.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity to be here. This was absolutely wonderful. Robin, thank you again. This was incredible. I'm new to this community of 7 space, and you've given me energy just listening to your journey. My question is, how does a 30-ish-year-old woman, speaking for me, pivot into the entrepreneurship space and build connections? And with that, are there specific women's business groups or memberships that one can join?
Well, there's NAWBO. That's one group that a lot of women join, National Association of Women Business Owners. They do give good information about funding and things of that nature. Certainly, each community has their own groups. I would say do your research locally. There are, I don't want to endorse any one group because every community has a different one. And remember, it's often the strength of the leader and the community. But I will say this, there right now, Goldman Sachs has I don't know what to call it, an entrepreneurial incubator that is trying to find women entrepreneurs, and they will begin to fund them. I also know about Pillsbury Law Firm. They have something called the Boss Network, and you can also apply. It's no cost. They give you 20 or 30 hours of legal advice for free. And on top of that, they then, if you make it to phase 2, then they will introduce you to potential funders, but they're guiding you all throughout that process. That's what I can offer right now. And by the way, the pivot, there's never enough money in your bank account to make you become an entrepreneur, because you're always like, well, I need to save a little bit more. I need to save a little bit. I need 8 months. Just do it. Just do it. Put on the wall your intention and do it. Even if you have to have your regular job and your entrepreneurial job at the same time, just do it and try your best. And you might fail 1 or 2 times. I've failed 1 or 2 times, right? And it's less important, the failure, but that you got up and had the resilience to keep going.
I love that. And just some comments from the chats. Alune, thank you, Robin, for being very open, very vulnerable with your journey and learning from every point in your life. Tanja, your voice is always inspiring and true, and I 100% agree with that. And Sandy, count me in. Revival has a great women's business owners group. Any folks who are on the live stream? So we have about 50 or so on live stream on LinkedIn. We probably have some folks on FaceTime as well, and on YouTube. Any other questions you want to ask? You could just ask it in the comments so I see it, or you can just.
Can I say one more thing? Sure. This is for your audience. So y'all are gonna flip out. I'm gonna do breaking news. You're the first to hear about this, okay? So y'all gotta support me. But this is crazy. So this is secret. So just sort of keep it in your community, but don't. Okay. So last year I told you about the 3,000% it took off, right? I didn't tell you what I did with that, because remember, I was going to quit. So this is the moment when you pivot within the pivot, right? So I decided to renew my commitment to being an entrepreneur, right? But I said, there's something maybe that I should look at. Robin Wilson Home, in this very political climate, I'll just leave it like that. I don't speak about politics, but in this very political climate, I might need to take my name out of it because somebody from certain communities might not want to buy from a brown girl. I need to go generic. So I'm going to trademark based on my best-selling book, Clean Design, Wellness for Your Lifestyle, which I wrote and it came out and Amazon promoted it and whatever. I decided to trademark Clean Design Home. Here is the logo.
Yay.
Guess what? West Point Home, which is owned by Carl Icahn, licensed my name in Clean Design Home, not Robin Wilson Home, but Clean Design Home. And they licensed it in October. Ellen DeGeneres launched me on day 4 of her 12 Days of Christmas giveaway, Clean Design Home. So all of a sudden, remember, Robin Wilson Home is getting no traction. Okay, I do this. Wait, but there's more. And in last month was their 2 months, April, was the International Home Textile Show. And Clean Design Home got picked up by Japan, the UK, the US, Canada, and we will be the first Black international textile brand.
Woo!
And their launch and a home shopping show, which I can't tell you which one, but I would love for y'all to tune in, at least buy a washcloth. I'll let you know, watch my social.
That's the question I was going to ask you. How can our community, because you have probably a few hundred people on all of the live streams and in the live Zoom, how can we help you? How can we support you? Buy your book, send a link to your products in here, because you got this whole entire community who wanted to support you.
Okay, so I'll just say this. We are right now trying to raise, because I don't want to use my money anymore, okay? So we're trying to raise, I just did my deck. We want $2 million. What's it going to pay for? The marketing, the PR, because it's like a movie launch, right? When Japan, everybody needs to see this logo on their billboards, right? And so Japan, the UK is January, a major retail, can't tell you who, but they're going to do something in New York City, in the stores and on TV and all this other stuff. But that costs money, right? And so I've gotten to the point where I'm like, no, I'm going to get funded. And I'm just putting it out there. So we're going to get funded, right? Yeah. I'll spend my money to a certain point, but we're going to get funded to pay for the launch of this Japan, UK, US, Canada launch for Clean Design Home. Okay, see that? I need followers. I need Facebook likes.
Okay.
And Amazon just, this is a partnership everybody needs to know about. If you want this, let me know. Amazon told me to let them know about 10 women who run businesses who have product, and they will find a way to partner with them. So they did it with me. So now I have a store on Amazon called amazon.com/Clean Design Home. So let me know if you need that introduction. Call Lan, let Lan know, and I will, because I can't do these chats and talk to you guys, so I'm sorry, tell Lan, and then I will call my rep. I have a person at Amazon I talk to, and I'll give him a list of 10 names of companies, and then y'all can talk to him and get your own little store. And get this, they'll give you like 6 months free fulfillment by Amazon. They'll do marketing, they'll do all the stuff, teach you how to upload your products so you're not trying to waste your time doing that. Tell Lan, and I will help you. That's what I can do for your community.
Awesome. Robin, we're running out of time, but everyone, can you unmute yourself and put yourself in gallery? You all turn on your videos, because I think Robin deserves your beautiful face. So unmute yourself. Round of applause to Robin. You are amazing. Go buy her products. Go buy her book. Go into her Amazon store. Claudine had posted it on there. Clean Design Homes. Clean Design Home.
Thank you so much.
You're amazing, Robin. Thank you.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
Beautiful
Thank you
faces.
so
Look
much.
at everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You are awesome.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Thank